Just look at Clarence Thomas, whose corruption is almost comical. Secret trips to retreats, international vacations on super yachts, and private jet jaunts to New Haven for an afternoon. Here in Congress, we are forbidden from receiving gifts that exceed $50. But Justice Thomas has received more than $4 million in gifts, largely undisclosed, since joining the court. And worse, it appears to be working. He is currently primed to overturn his own 2005 doctrine so he can side with Charles Koch's network and their oil and gas interests, the same Charles Koch who he secretly vacationed with at the retreat. Or take Justice Alito, whose quote-unquote friendship with billionaire Paul Singer, along with more undisclosed gifts and private jet trips, was followed by a shift in the court's decision to take up Singer's own case. Coincidentally, after Justice Alito took an unreported fishing trip to Alaska with Singer, the Supreme Court reversed their position and took up his case, ultimately leading Singer to a victory netting $2.4 billion. This was not a bad return on Singer's $80 million in political donations, a fishing trip, and a couple bottles of $1,000 wine. The confluence of money and conservatism is no coincidence, and we are here today to connect the dots. The group behind the Dobbs challenge was, predictably, funded by who else but Leonard Leo.
The corruption that flows through conservative Supreme Court justices has been on full display for years, but they expect Americans to just accept it as the new normal. But luckily, a few Congress people are trying to fight back.
What is the recourse on the Supreme Court? Is there a recourse on the Supreme Court when a justice decides that they are not going to recuse themselves from what seems to be a very obvious conflict?
At the moment, there is not.
Okay. So I agree that there may be some sort of a two-tier justice system that is playing out in our country. But it seems like the two-tier justice system is inuring to the benefit of the highest court in the land, from what I can ascertain. And as my colleague has already laid out, Ms. Stansbury, the people want to know what we're going to do. And as one of the co-chairs for the Court Reform Task Force, there's 3 specific bills that we're pushing forward with that we really want to hopefully see brought to fruition. And so when we talk about things such as expanding the court, is there a history in this country of expanding the Supreme Court?
There is. It has been done by Congress.
It has been done by Congress at least 7 different times. And the last time was in 1869. Now, I know that this isn't necessarily your area of expertise, but would you agree with me that this country has grown just a little bit since 1869?
The population has considerably increased, yes.
Okay. So
we can agree on that.
It may make sense to do that.
Expanding the court is one approach. Also one that would come with speculation about what those libs want to do with more justices that every conservative just won't trust, simply because of the devious work that Mitch McConnell put into stacking it full of justices that don't care about impartiality. But what will keep the current justices from continuing their bribery lifestyle that has them literally being paid for specific rulings in a donor's favor?
After spending almost a lifetime in public service, both in the United States Navy and at the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of New Jersey, the office which at one point Justice Alito presided over as the U.S. Attorney, we were often trained in our responsibilities of public service. So it wasn't simply that we didn't act with impropriety. We had to act in a way that no one would suspect impropriety from our actions. So it wasn't just impropriety, it was also the appearance of impropriety. And here we have both, sadly. We have justices who have reportedly received money and gifts and travel. We have justices who have shown themselves not to be unbiased in their determinations of how they feel about the election, flying flags that are related to the Stop the Steal movement, flying flags related to right-wing Christian nationalism, and then hearing those cases and refusing to recuse themselves. And so while I know, because I served in that office, that at one time Justice Alito received ethics training, he's obviously due for a refresher course. And that's what this bill would do. to make sure that justices and their spouses receive training on their ethical responsibilities, to make sure that should they not follow that training, that an independent organization can investigate that, as we do with so many of our government agencies, because obviously the court has not been able to police itself.
Representative Sherrill offered up that bill that would simply set a standard of ethics for our Supreme Court justices, and if they break them, have an independent organization investigate their actions. Not just the conservative justices, by the way, but the liberal ones as well. Seems like the only people that would have an issue with this bill are those that refuse to believe their eyes, that see that there is corruption on the court, or those that are okay with their preferred justices being bought by individuals with means to do so. An excuse to allow the corruption to continue is, you're just trying to disparage the conservative justices, people I don't know at all, but are obviously unbiased.
Bombshell, secret Supreme Court tapes, Chief Justice John Roberts, Samuel Alito's wife, the one with the flags. She even talks about flags. On a secret recording, Justice Samuel Alito appeared to endorse a call to return our country to a place of godliness. A liberal activist and filmmaker presented herself as a religious conservative and secretly recorded the justice and his wife at a Supreme Court Historical Society dinner.
Crazy enough, friend of the network Lauren Windsor, who CNN didn't name there, made her way in front of Sam Alito and his wife to ask them about their feelings on where the country is and where they think it should be. But how about those flags that symbolize their support for the insurrection and belief that the 2020 election was stolen?
But why do you think they're coming after you? I mean, like, the whole, like, appeal to have heaven flag was, like, bullshit, right?
Right, but that's, the other thing is the feminazis believe that he should control me.
Yeah.
So you go to hell. He never controls me.
But, like, I have the same flag.
Yeah, I know.
No, but, like, a lot of people fly that flag.
Don't worry about it, baby.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I should watch my language.
It's all right. It's all right.
I'm sorry. I did not mean
It's
to.
okay. It's okay.
No,
It's
but
okay.
it makes me so angry.
Don't get angry.
It makes me so angry.
Don't get angry. Get even. Bye, baby. Bye, cat. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, meow. She's a bad girl.
They're persecuting you, and you're like a convenient stand-in for anybody who's religious.
Look at me. I'm German. I'm German. My heritage is German. You come after me, I'm going to give it back to you. And there will be a way. It doesn't have to be now, but there will be a way. They will know. Just don't worry about it.
She doesn't really seem to understand why the decision to present flags that show support for a huge conspiracy theory that's been proven false in over 60 court cases is a bad thing. So much so, she's got plans to fly a few more flags.
You know what I want? I want a Sacred Heart of Jesus flag because I have to look across the lagoon at the Pride flag for the next month.
Exactly.
And he's like, oh, please don't put up a flag. I said, I won't do it because I'm deferring to you. But when you are free of this nonsense, I'm putting it up and I'm going to send them a message every day. Maybe every week I'll be changing the flags. There'll be all kinds. I made a flag in my head. This is how I satisfy myself. I made a flag. It's white and it's yellow and orange flames around it. And in the middle is the word vergogna. Vergogna in Italian means shame. Vergogna. 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 Shame, shame, shame on you.
It's just a peek into the secret conversations of the very flawed and very biased Supreme Court justice's wife. But that's just his wife. She doesn't necessarily keep her beliefs onto Sam. He's got his own biases that might be even worse.
And I'm sure you don't remember this at all, but what I had asked you about was about the polarization in this country, about like how do we repair that rift, and considering everything that's been going on in the past year, as a Catholic and as someone who like really cherishes my faith, I don't know that we can negotiate with the left in the way that like needs to happen for the polarization to end. I think that it's a matter of like winning.
I think you're probably right. I mean, one side or the other is going to win. I don't know. I mean, there can be a way of working, a way of living together peacefully, but it's difficult, because there are differences on fundamental things that really can't be compromised. They really can't be compromised. So it's not like we're going to split the difference. And
I think that the solution really is like winning the moral argument. Like, people in this country who believe in God have got to keep fighting for that, to return our country to a place of godliness.
Oh, I agree with you.
So the religious Samuel Alito, who rules on cases that affect people that don't practice his religion, feels comfortable telling someone that he agrees with them on the need to return the country to a place of godliness. What does a godly America look like? When was it godly, since it needs to be returned to that time? Was it during the Jim Crow era, when Byron Donalds thinks black folks had it best? Who knows? Just trust a guy to make unbiased rulings that thinks his belief system should win over others. These beliefs that the Alitos admitted to having are ones that regular Americans have all the time, but he's sworn to not make judgments based off of his personal beliefs, which is why we blindly trust him not to. So why don't we just admit that humans, both conservative and liberal on the Supreme Court, are capable of being biased, even corrupt? So they're in need of some oversight, some guidelines put in place to keep them from harming the country with their very human biases that we all have. It's not an insult, it's acknowledging reality. The lifelong appointment standard for justices was meant to eliminate the fear of being ousted for ruling one way or another, potentially freeing them up to not take their natural biases into account when ruling. But in the age of exorbitant bribery and polarizing beliefs with so much on the line, the lifelong appointment has become a shield to protect them from consequences or criticism for breaking their oath to serve all the people. It's a dangerous place to be when a wannabe dictator thinks he has control over them, especially when they've shown that he just might be right.
We appointed 200 black judges to the federal bench. And guess what? The next president, they're going to be able to appoint a couple justices, and I'll be damned if they're not going to. Look, if in fact we're able to change some of the justices when they retire and put in really progressive judges like we've always had, tell me that won't change your life when Trump justices are already gutting voting rights, overturning Roe, decimating affirmative action, and so much more. We're going to let that happen? We can't. No, we really can't.